Alright, here we are again for the part 2 video of what I'm going to call the quick assembly. I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can. I'm going to be pausing the video and starting it, so if that annoys you, tough. Anyway, so here we are. We've got we've got this transmission ready to basically go together at this point. In the first video I gave you all the documentation that I've been using. I gave you the parts that I've been using. I think there was a couple parts that I may have missed, like I did actually buy the Sonics one-piece case bushing instead of using the two-piece bushings that were in the kit. I just felt that that was, it just makes sense. I mean, it goes in so much easier. Again, right now what you're seeing the thrust washer on the back, which is supposed to be for this thing right here, but as you can see, I've got a needle bearing in here, so I'm going to actually at this point go ahead and get this inserted in there, and then go ahead and put the governor housing on, I guess if that's what you call it, and get that put in place. So at this point, gonna get this in there, put the housing on, and move on to the next step. Okay, so I kind of got it in. I made myself a little bit of trouble. I had the parking pole in park, and therefore the parking pole gear was really giving me trouble, and I didn't realize that until, of course, I'm trying to rush because I'm trying to get this phone to not like time out by sitting on pause. But anyway, that's what happened. I had it in park. Once I got that, then this parking pole gear was able to move around no problem. Now, it's a good thing that I had my buddy put that needle bearing, down inside the gear, because, if it's like above the surface at all, it could actually get, knocked around a little bit and maybe fall out. But I got a little bit of a area right there you can't see, but I can see, that you can get down in there and you can actually check and see that you are, in fact, that thing is not falling out. And, it's got the kind of clearance that it needs. So anyway, gonna pause it again, put the phone down, get this completely tightened in, and then resume to the next step. Alright, I got it all tightened up now. It's solid, it's set. I can actually put this in park if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because I'm going to put the shaft in next. Also, I did my air check. So I actually, I actually did the air check on the low reverse clutch a long time ago, but I did it again. And I did my air check here as well, and got these lines blown out, which is kind of good because somewhere there was a piece of lint. So somehow a piece of lint got inside my tubes, but it blew it out. So, alright. Next step. So over here on the rear output shaft, you can see here that I got the governor rotor assembly in place, and I've got the snap ring in place. So it is secured and ready to go into the back of the transmission. A note, this shaft is a different shaft, and I don't remember how I got it or why, but as you notice, it has no speedometer gear on here. And I actually have a brand new shaft that does have the speedometer gear, and the shaft that was in here, I have it as well, but it's rusty. There's a lot of pitting everywhere. I could probably use it, but I'd rather not, just because I'd rather not. I got it apart, why not? The reason why I'm choosing to go with this one is because I'm putting the gear vendor over underdrive in. So I'm actually going to be using the gear vendor as a place to get my speedometer sensing from. And as of right now, I'm not exactly sure how I want to do that, but I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to put plug a sensor into it, electronic pulse counter sensor, so that way I can get some sort of speedometer in that regard. I really don't like the idea of the cable, even though I did hammer my, I did trial fit it, and I did hammer the hump I guess, where the transmission tunnel, I did hammer that in the spot where that cable would be, but it's gonna be kind of a cranky turn. So that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking I'm just probably gonna try to find some sort of pulsing sensor, electronic pulsing sensor instead. Or I might just use GPS, but I don't know. But as of right now, I like the idea of the pulsing sensor because, you drive into a tunnel or something like that, your GPS is gone. So, and that might play with your cruise control. So, and besides that, I don't trust satellites and stuff like that, even though, yeah, I'm holding a cell phone, but my point is I would rather not be connected by some big brother watching. So anyway, that's my point. So we're going to put that shaft in and put the clip on it and go from there. Okay, we got the shaft in now, inside of the governor rotor, whatever the hell that is. There's the governor itself. We got the shaft sticking through on the backside here. And now, you got to get in there, and we got to put, let's see, the snap ring on there. So that's what I'm going to do now. Yeah, lo and behold, guess what? I did not know this, but this snap ring here is different. So the snap ring that goes right here above the governor and the snap ring that goes into the rear planet are different sizes. Because I remember I struggled getting that one on. Yeah, got them backwards. Let me get that corrected. Okay, wow, that was kind of a bit of a struggle in a way. I had my snap ring pliers were kind of turned around, and the rivets on the pliers were actually working against me, but I did get it. But yeah, I had no idea that there was a difference between the two snap rings. I mean, they look so familiar. I mean, like, they look so similar. But yeah, I do remember it took quite a struggle to get it on, but the thing was I had it right here in the vise, so it really wasn't that hard per se, but I remember I had to spread it really wide to get it out there. Come to find out I had the wrong one. So pulled that back out, put it back in the vise, took it off, put the correct one on, and then, yeah, I kind of bent the other one a little too wide. So then I had to get my channel locks there and stick it inside there and kind of bend it back. But nonetheless, you can see now I got that snap ring in there. And I pushed the screwdriver around it. It's not flexing. It's solid. And it seems to fit really tight. And I'm spinning it around. So I spin this around and going back and forth, and it's exactly the way it needs to be. It's perfect. And cool thing is that we've got the parking pawl gear right there. We've got a roller needle bearing here, and then on the back side over here, inside of what would be just on the bottom side actually of the rear planet hub is another needle bearing sitting on top of that one-way race. And so this thing here is fully rollerized. The only thing that is a quote bushing would be the actual bushing in between the case. So, all right, now we can move on to the next step, which is basically we can now put in, let's see here. Oh yeah, so we're going to put in the bearing here, which is right over here. So again, another needle roller bearing. I'm gonna put some Vaseline on that when I pause this, and then we're gonna go ahead and we'll start assembling the unit here all the way back to the sun gear, so we can actually insert the whole thing inside here. Okay, pausing. Okay. Got some Vaseline on there. That's now definitely stuck there. By the way, low and reverse clutch down here. I believe from the factory this thing had, I'm pretty sure it was 4. I think it was. clutches in there. I got 4 back in there. I have all of my clutch packs are at about 25 thousandths of clearance, so perfect there. This one here, I guess you can be really stupid with them. Somebody was saying up to 80 thousandths of clearance if you want. I can't remember if I had 3 in here to start with or not. I've already thrown all the clutches away, so I can't count again. But I do know that the direct drum was destroyed down to the steels, and there was only 3 in there. And the forward drum was also only 3, but the clutches in there were pretty good. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. So just so that you know, I got this back here. In fact, I think this one here is about 30 thousandths clearance. It's a little bit looser just because they said it could be. And I used brand new steels and everything. And I think this is the one with the wave plate inside there, and I did reuse it, as a matter of fact. So, and I reused the, what's this? The big old flywheel. Yeah, God, I'm sorry, I keep saying But anyway, did it again. I reused the flywheel. It was in good shape because, and I don't know if this is the way it's supposed to be, but they have the wave plate down at the bottom, and then they have, you know, steel, clutch, steel, and then they had a steel at the top, and then they had the flywheel. Gosh, I'm so sorry for saying it's pathetic. But anyway, that's what happened there. Now, with this thing right here, this was a 3 clutch from the factory. However, it was rusty in here a little bit, and I wanted to upgrade as well. Now, I understand that you can get 5 clutch direct drums. The thing about it is that, well, first of all, I'm putting this behind my 302. I'll be lucky to get 400. I'll be doing great if I can get 450 pounds of torque. I mean, C6s are supposed to be able to take torque and horsepower anyway, even at the factory. So I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, well, I'm going to be just plain happy with probably a 4-clutch unit, which leads me to my story, which is basically this was a new old stock unit. You can see it's got just a little bit of, you know, I don't know, that old grease, that what do you want to call that? Cosmoline type grease on it, you know, some marking, just barely some surface rust here and there, but this is a brand spanking new unit. I can't remember the name brand. I think it was Transtar is what I want to say. But anyway, the eBay auction that had this, there was 2 of them, and this one here is the one that I picked up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I paid $50, $60 shipped to my door. So it was really cheap for 1 extra clutch compared to what it was at factory. And I'm okay with that. So, again, direct drum here. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go ahead and now assemble this whole unit back to the sun gear. So that way we can put it all 1 unit in here. So that's what I'm going to do now, after now having explained all the clutches and everything. So this is how we're going to start. We're going to take the forward drum, and we are going to insert it down inside the clutch packs, which of the direct drum, which has 4 clutch packs in this one. And this is, again, one of the thrust washers that you have to use when you, quote, rollerize. I'll show you the other one when we get to it. But this one here, they did not provide it in the PATC kit. I was going to have to use, actually, the factory original one, which was fine, actually. I believe it's right over here. But my point is that I was able to buy a brand spanking new one for like $5 while I was ordering some other parts. So I went ahead and got one. So I'm going to drop this direct drum right inside here to this 4-clutch, or drop this forward drum into the direct drum. Okay, so I got the forward drum dropped into the direct drum. This forward drum, is not the original one. It had 3 clutches in it. It now has 5. Again, another eBay auction. I think this was the only one he had. I don't know much about him. I did look through the other items that he had, and it seems like this guy just happened to have this unit sitting around, and he was saying to himself, you know, hey, I got excess stuff and I got to get rid of it, or I've never used it, or blah, blah, blah. And he claimed it with a 5 clutch forward drum, and it is in fact that. So I was able to put in 5 clutches. Let's see, I bought a brand spanking new Bellevue spring, by the way. Some of the forums have said that that's something you should always do because they tend to break, I guess. I bought one, I can't remember, I think I got it from Global West or whatever, but I've looked at this one, this brand new one here, compared to the original and compared to another transmission that I had to scavenge parts out of, and I found that this one is thicker. So this is a little bit heavier duty. I don't know if I don't remember the part number or anything like that, but it is a little more heavy duty. Got the wire ring in there. And I had to buy this piston because this piston was, what do you want to call, pitted and everything, corroded from the original one. So 5 clutches in here. Oh, you can probably see this is the original flywheel. As you can see, it was flipped the other way to where this is the one that kind of sort of got ate up a little bit, and when it did that, you know, it obviously grooved into it a little bit. So what I did is I took this sucker and I put it in the sandblaster or bead blaster, whatever, bead blasted this and the other side, and since the other side is basically perfect, that's the side I'm going to be using. So now let's see here. Now we need to, okay, we've got the forward drum into the direct, and now what we need to do is we need to drop in what would be the forward hub inside here. So as you can see, we already have the thrust bearing. This was factory, by the way. This was this one right here. This is a 3-piece design because you got a bottom to it, and then you got a roller cage. See if we can separate. There we go. You got the bottom, you got the roller cage right there, and then you have a top, which I'm using. So, and I'll explain that here in a minute. So we're going to put this in there, and then we got to put the the forward drum. So the forward drum is right here, and as you can see, this is also the other spot where you have to use a thrust washer. This came with the actual kit that I bought. So I'm going to get that inserted in there and continue. Alright, so we got the forward drum for the forward planet in place. This is that big bearing that I got out of that one eBay kit that did not come with this kit. I was making the assumption that I was supposed to use the thrust washer from the old kit over to this, and it would not work. It would not spline anywhere on this at all. So I just, again, on a whim, bought that eBay kit, and by the way, the largest bearing, it works. So this here basically rides right there. So what you can see here on the forward drum area and the forward planet is that this surface right here goes down inside there and actually rides on this thrust bearing right here. And then this area right here rides on this one. Now, they did a good job of machining. I mean, this is a well thought out deal somehow or whatever, because I was skeptical of that. I didn't think that it would actually, you know, I gotta drop that down in there like so, and then get that baby to line up. There we go. It's hard doing it with one hand holding the camera. Alright, there we go. And if you look down inside there, you can actually see that bearing race. There you go. See, you can see that bearing race moving. So, and I actually tried to pull this up, this drum. I tried to pull it up to see if there was any slop. In other words, we know right now, because you can see that this snout here is setting on top of that race. You can see it moving, so you know it's setting on top of there. So I actually tried to pull this up, and as soon as I do that, I mean, and I'm one-handed and I'm holding the camera, but earlier I was actually really trying to do this, you know, a little more professionally with my dial caliper, my dial gauge, indicator, and all that kind of stuff. And both of those bearings, that bearing right there and the one that was underneath this on the other side there, are perfectly, like they are maybe 500 thousandths of, you know, not being perfect. It rides on two bearings. Let's put it that way. It rides on two bearings. So that one there is now in place. Those two. Okay. So one of the things that I had a problem with. So this is actually the next bearing that goes in. You can see right here that this is machined out. Okay. And this bearing actually belongs there now. What used to go there again is this, you know, this 3-piece bearing here, which is no longer 3-piece because I actually have, let's see, where did I do, oh, here it is. Okay, so this is what makes that a 3-piece bearing right there. This is the top. So you got the bottom, you got the cage with the rollers, and you got the top, and that's how this thing goes together. And there was 2 of these inside that old this old transmission. Okay, the one I was able to actually remove the entire thing. The bottom, the cage, and the top. Okay? Now the other one is stuck inside of the old forward hub. These pinions are too tight to be able to pull this thing out of there, so you cannot get it out. Alright, so you can't get it out. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that I was able to get the top piece off. Okay? Watch. Here it is right there. See, this is the other top piece, but notice how it doesn't have that raised ridge right there because I actually ground it off. Okay, so why would I do that? Why would I ground it off? Well, and then I also had to open this diameter just a little bit, and this is why I did it. I take it and I put it over the top of that, and now I have 2 you know, pretty much machine precision type flat washers is what I got. Now, why is that important? Well, because I had, again, dry assembled this thing many times, and when I got the pump set in here, the problem that I had was I had a lot of space up on the top, and I was going to have to get a really big selective thrust washer here on the stator support. So rather than do that, I didn't want to have to go finding one because I had a hard time finding that one, and I wanted to use metal instead of plastic because I don't want it to break. But I had to somehow grow this thing, okay? Well, what's going to happen here is we're going to take, but, okay, so somebody would say, well, just stack some washers there and you're good. The problem with that is that, so this one here is actually machined. This forward planet is actually machined to where this sits in there, and it can't go sideways when it's sitting down inside there. It can't go over here to the gear. It can't touch the shaft. It's stuck right here, and that's where you want it to be. And then here's your needle thrust washer, which is again what you want for a rollerized setup. But in order to grow this thing, what I did was I took the old 2-piece unit, okay, and I used one washer, or, you know, just the one top piece to try it, and I needed more. So then I grabbed the other one, because I was able to get it out of that old forward planet, and it's the only thing I was able to get out, and I ground it out, and I ground down this, you know, this standing wall all the way around there. I put them together, and then using, you know, obviously Vaseline here. Check this out. So this standing wall, you're able to put it inside there, and watch that. See, look, it wobbles just a tad, but it cannot. See, like if I would have just taken washers, and I would have just put it like this, you know, imagine. Well, here, we can do it with this one. Look at that. This thing can slide around. and that's not good. So if this thing is sliding around, okay, what's going to happen is it's going to come over here and hit the gears. It's going to hit your shaft, because that shaft is going to rotate independently of this outer gear, sun gear here at some point. That's why there's a bushing in here. So that's a bad idea to have that happen. So what we've got to do is we always got to have a constant constant centering ability, okay? And that's what we're doing right here. When we put that one washer right over the top of that one right there, and we keep that China wall. I'm going to call it the China wall, because we call, on lifter valleys, on engine blocks, we call them China walls. Well, this is the new China wall here in the transmission. Anyway, so you stick it down in there, and it cannot go sideways. So that's good. That's perfect. So now that I got this all greased up and everything, okay, and I got it to where it'll do its job, which here, by the way, I'm not going to pause it right now because I think I'm on a roll, and this is going to be easy enough. Put a little bit of Vaseline and grease inside these bushings here. Okay, get those nice and lubed up for the shaft. Okay, now we're going to easily take this, right? And we're just going to set this right over the top of there. And we'll roll it around, and then bam, look at that. Look at that. So right now, the other side of this sun gear is sitting on top of those two spacer washers that I made. And it is sitting on top of that thrust needle bearing that's down inside that machine channel in the forward planet, like it's supposed to. Okay? Then we have taken this sucker, and as you can see here, we've dropped it in here, and it's locked. Like, it's a little loose, but it's locked. It ain't going nowhere. And actually, I'm glad I was able to space that, because I've got the wide second gear application band, and baby, it comes right up here. So I'm really glad actually that I was able to space this up, rather, so that this here is more in line with those nubs, and then now that thing does not have any chance of interfering right there. So now what I have to do is I have to actually pause the video, because this is way heavy, but I'm going to lift this whole assembly and drop it right in there. Alrighty, so I'm back here. I got it in, and I actually put in the band, and the reason why I did that is because if I don't do that, this thing right here, the direct drum wants to fall off, which it was doing, because I had this thing a little bit too horizontal. I had my big old motors book underneath here, and that was helpful up to this point, basically. But yeah, I got it all in, and then as soon as I got it there and kind of let go of it, this thing here, the direct drum and everything just rolled out, basically. And so I had to take it out and reassemble the entire thing. And then I kind of lowered this down to where the tail shaft's sitting on. Now, of course, it's always cool to have this thing, sitting straight up and down. But, I mean, I don't have that capability in this messy garage right now. So, anyway, that's how it went down. I got this thing here, and I tightened it up a little, snug to make sure it doesn't drop out. Let's take a look at something here. So you can look down inside there, and you can see that the shaft, the output shaft there, is pretty much far enough away from where the input shaft is going to be. So this is the input shaft right there, and what you don't want is you don't want this shaft here going all the way in and actually touching the output shaft, because that would be bad, because they're going to be rubbing up against each other at times. Just kind of depends on what speed you're in. Of course, obviously if you're in third gear, you're going to be one-on-one, but not until that happens. But the point is that when I modified everything that I did in regards to the roller bearings, the needle bearings, the parking pawl gear in the back that has the roller needle bearing, I had to make sure that all the clearances were in fact perfect and nothing would interfere. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grease up, I'm going to install the outer ring, grease up the gasket, put it on here, and actually drop the pump and the stator support inside there. And we should have a perfect clearance. And again, here's the other thing too. Remember how I was telling you that this wide band was getting really close here, right? Well, this sun gear used to stick up even higher. I mean, it was up here about another 65, 70 thousandths. So it's kind of cool that by adding those shims in there that I did, those old 3-piece, you know, washer needle bearing pieces, by stacking that, I was actually able to get basically this sun shell away, because it raised the actual direct drum higher, and it allowed so that this doesn't interfere, and it also allows to where I have the proper clearance, and I don't have to go find a new selective #1 thrust washer. So when I'm all done here, when I do my dry assembly, I found out that I had, I believe it was 25 thousandths. And according to the yellow book here, it says, and I mean, yeah, you can read this one here too. They all say the same thing, 0.008 to 0.044. But they said in here, because it's the performance book or whatever, if you're going drag racing, you want to have it between 22 and 30 thousandths, and I'm right at 25, so I'm like, perfect. Now, am I going drag racing? Well, this thing ain't going to be no slouch, and I'm definitely not going to, you know, grandfather this thing around all the time. But at the same time, I think that's just a perfect medium. It's just sitting right in the middle. So, all right, going to put this in, and then we'll show you the last. All right, well, I'm back a little sooner than I thought. You know, this is a perfect example of why you need to double check everything. You need to really double check everything. And apparently I didn't, because look at that. Look at that. That's just nasty. I can't believe I didn't recognize that I didn't clean that. So, yeah. Okay, so here's where we're going to end the video. Unfortunately, you're not actually going to, at least in this video, see the stator support sitting over there and actually close to the top of the direct drum like I wanted to show you, because, well, I'm not going to put that dirty thing back on. I didn't realize that, but my point is, though, is I have dry fitted this thing over and over and over. You saw how I